Good day everyone, I am Mike Kevin G. BINIGAY from BSMX 1-1, and today I am going to install operating system in my personal computer. But first, let me introduce you to my main drive OS operating system. I use Xeon Linux OS as my main drive operating system. It is based on Ubuntu 18.4 LTS version. So Xeon OS is a Linux type OS, and I want to install another OS alongside with Xeon OS named Manjaro Linux operating system. And these are the step-by-step process to create bootable USB using unit boot-in on Linux. First, I will introduce Manjaro and create bootable USB using boot-in for Manjaro OS. Now I am introducing to you Manjaro in distrowatch.com. Manjaro is a Linux OS type operating system which is based on Arch Linux. And the system requirements to install Manjaro OS are the following. The minimum system requirements and recommended requirements are the following. Your laptop or computer should have at least 1 GB of RAM memory, 30 GB of hard drive space, or you can use SSD, HDD, or other external drive, and your CPU speed should at least 1 GHz or better CPU, with high definition graphics card and monitor, and broadband internet connection for downloading necessary drivers after installing the operating system alongside with Xeon OS. Now let's go to Manjaro official website by typing in the search engine manjaro.org to download the ISO file we need to create bootable USB on our 8 GB USB. Now let's click downloads. And now I want to install Manjaro version 20.2. Manjaro version 20.2. And I'll find it in their archive. I will find Manjaro 20.2 and click on it. And you'll see the ISO file of Manjaro 20.2 is here. Just click on it to download. And its size about 2 GB of file size of the space of ISO file. Since I already downloaded my Manjaro ISO file 20.2, I can click save to download it. Since I downloaded, I will just leave it for you to download in your own and proceed to the next process, because I already downloaded the ISO file of Manjaro 20.2 earlier to save time in our video. So I'll click cancel. Now let's plug our flash drive in the USB port of our computer or laptop. Once you plug it, run the following command in your terminal. Run sudo fdisk list and import your administration password, or in Linux it's called sudo password. Just input it and click enter. As you can see, our USB device or USB drive is mounted in dev SDB1. Now, we already mounted our USB drive. Now let's download the unit boot-in to help us make to help us create bootable USB of the ISO file of Manjaro. Just go to their official website of UnitBin and click downloads for Linux. Now copy this command to your Linux terminal to install UnitBin from Ubuntu PPA to run this command. So you copy this command to run the following command and install unit boot-in. Paste. Then click enter to proceed. And it's assigning the PPA in our files to enable us to download the unit boot-in from the Ubuntu PPA, because Zorin OS is based on Ubuntu 18.4 long-term support operating system. So already fetch 12 MB in 18 seconds. Let's just wait it finish and proceed to other codes. Proceed to other code, this one. Fetching, reading package list 37, 50, 100% done. Now let's go to the next command. Let's update our database, the Zorin database. And once it's updated, we need to install UnitBin also, the following command. So reading package list. So it's all done. Now let's proceed to the next command to install unit boot-in in our Linux, Zorin Linux. Paste and click enter. And yes, it's already removed. So now we already downloaded the unit boot in the administrator privileges. So here, this is the unit boot in. So let's minimize all the windows, and now let's create bootable USB using unit boot-in. You can open also unit boot-in in the menu by searching unit boot-in and click enter. And need authentication at 2. Okay, let's input our password to authenticate. Now let's close this one because this is the sudo privileges. So now let's create the bootable USB using unit boot-in. Let's select disk image because we downloaded the ISO file, this image, and browse to downloads to find. Click home for home user, Mickey Mouse for the user, and click downloads to browse to the Manjaro ISO file. So this Manjaro ISO file, click on it and open. And we need to select our drive. So our drive is SDB1 because it is where our 8GB of USB mounted here. SDB1 is where our 8GB USB is mounted. So we need to click the drive mounted and let's click OK if you already reviewed that your ISO file is correct and your USB drive mounted is also correct, and click OK. And let's proceed to creating bootable USB. Click OK. So it said you must first mount the USB drive depend to one point. Much distribution will do to maintain our firmware. So let's mount our USB 8 GB by in here. Just click the triangle to mount this drive. So mounted, it says mounted, so it's mounted on SDB1. So try again, click OK and wait till this for process is done, and we already completed creating bootable USB using unit boot in. Let's just wait until this process is done. Now the process in unit bin to create bootable USB is complete. So let's press exit and look in the disk. As we can see, the partition type of our 8 GB USB drive is now labeled as bootable. So our USB drive now is bootable USB, and I'll try to press this exit and also this exit. Now let's unmount our 8 GB USB and eject, then power off our Zorin computer system. Let's unmount the 8 GB USB first by pressing this button, unmount, select partition, unmount, then eject our 8 GB USB, and you can safely remove your USB drive from the USB port. Let's remove now. Now let's power off this Zorin OS to install our Manjaro OS alongside with the Zorin OS. So in this case, there are two boot OS. It's called dual boot OS, the Zorin OS and the Manjaro. Now, after you power off your computer, plug your bootable USB on the USB port and turn on your computer again. Let's turn on our computer. And I'm turning on my computer, and let's get into BIOS setting to edit the first boot device. Click delete. Now we are in the BIOS setting. Go to advanced BIOS features to edit which device need to first boot. Now go to first boot device and change the first boot device to USB HDD, because that is your bootable USB. change to USB HDD, the first boot device, and the second boot device change to HDD. Change the second boot device to hard disk, or other name hard disk is HDD. And once you change the first boot device and second boot device, press F10 to save the BIOS setting. Press Y and enter. Now we are waiting to load up the bootloader. The computer is now rebooting. So that is the BIOS. Now the computer go to the bootloader. So enter default and it will read all the files stored in your bootable USB. This is normal. There are many links or written in the screen. So this is a quite normal if you are new to installing operating system. This is normal in when operating in Linux. Now let's wait up for the Manjaro desktop menu and startup menu. So welcome to Manjaro. So now this is the live CD of Manjaro. Now let's install Manjaro alongside with our Zorin OS, or my main OS is Zorin. So let's install Manjaro alongside with Zorin. Click this little CD button, or you can click here. You can click here to launch the installer. If you don't know how to install operating system, just search first on the internet or YouTube, or you can read the Manjaro manual right here. This is the Manjaro manual for beginners. You need to read it to install successfully Manjaro in your operating system. No, in your hard disk. Sorry, not operating system. You need this. You need to read this if you are a beginner to Linux or you want to install other distro like Manjaro, performing dual boot, or just installing Manjaro as your main operating system. Let's try to open. So this is the user guide for Manjaro. As you can see, there are contents in that file. So the user guide, and these are the contents you want to read if you are trying to install Manjaro in your hard drives or personal computer or laptop. Here. Just read the manual if you don't know how to install Manjaro correctly. I am closing it and proceed to the installation of Manjaro. The installation is now processing. Welcome to Manjaro Linux 20.2 Nibia installer. Now let's install Manjaro Linux 20.2 with the help of Nibia installer. First, let's select our English language. Select language English. Click next. Select your region, location. Click next and select your keyboard type. And noted, this section is very crucial when installing Manjaro. So if you don't know how to install Manjaro properly, please read the Manjaro user manual, or you can search on YouTube or internet how to install operating system in partition. So if you don't know how to install properly, just read the manual of Manjaro user guide, and also you can search on the internet and on YouTube. So leave me to configure it in my own. Now here is section is for the user information. So enter your full name, let's enter our full name in all capital letter. Now, what is your login username, or you can configure your login username? So I will try to configure. So not caps. So redo again. Now, what is name of this computer? So name of this computer is the name of your computer in your network. This is your unique name in your network. Computer unique name in your network. Let's say, right, this one, and choose a password to keep your account safe. So this is where you input your password. If so, we input our password correctly because it checks. So you can choose either login automatically without asking for your password, or use the same password for administration. I will prefer to say choose another password for administration. So we've done inputting our user information in our computer, and if you want to log in automatically without asking password, you can choose that. Use the same password for administration, you can choose that also, but I prefer to choose other passwords. So I'll click next. Here you can choose which word processor or office suite you want to install. You want to install free office or LibreOffice. So if you don't want to install this office, you can click no, but I prefer to choose free office because this is new to me, because I have LibreOffice in my Zorin. Next, and this is the summary of your partition installing. So once you confirm that it is correctly, if there's no error when you read, if the information is correct, you can proceed to install the Manjaro OS. And click install now. So the installation process is now begun. Welcome to Manjaro, a professional and user-friendly Linux distribution driven by a dedicated and hardworking community. During the installation, this slideshow will provide a quick So that is the features of Manjaro. So I'll pause the video because this is a long process and it takes time if I will record it. So installation all done. So the installation of Manjaro Linux 20.9 has been installed in your computer successfully. You may now restart your new system or continue using Manjaro Linux live environment. So let's restart our computer to see if we successfully install Manjaro Linux OS. Now let's restart our computer and edit the BIOS setting. And let's edit the advanced BIOS feature. We need to first to boot the hard disk. So get the hard disk and the second device is PHDD. So the first device to boot is the hard disk or our hard drive. Now click F10 to save and let's wait for the bootloader. As you can see, we have Manjaro Linux and Zorin OS on our device. So we have two OS on one hard drive. That's we call dual boot OS. So now I want to run Manjaro Linux. If I successfully install Manjaro Linux, click enter. Let's wait to boot. Now we successfully install Manjaro Linux OS. Let's enter our password again. And press enter, login. Now we wait for the desktop menu of Manjaro. So now we have installed Manjaro and this is the desktop of the Manjaro and this is the menu. So same as usual. Let's try to log in my main OS Zorin OS and let's reboot the Manjaro. Let's try to log in the Zorin OS because this system is already dual boot OS. So restart PO or reboot the computer. Now checking for BIOS. The basic input output system. So now we need, I will click my main drive or my main OS drive if it's still run and not corrupted after installing Manjaro Linux OS. Now we choose the file system and still we have Zorin OS. So I'm happy to say that I successfully installed Manjaro Linux OS alongside with Zorin OS. I have now dual boot OS, which is Zurin OS and Manjaro Linux OS. Let's wait for the login. Now I successfully dual boot my computer. So that's all. And if you are interested in Linux, just search the distrowatch.com. You will see many Linux distro in there for free. You can use it anytime, anywhere, and it is open source for everyone. So God bless you guys and thank you.